Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda Fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto learnt Fuinjutsu and got Harem with Hanabi, Hinata and Tenten. Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. It was reaching the end of the summer and Naruto thought about what he had accomplished in this short summer break. He had helped a clan heiress on her way to becoming a ninja. Hanabi said having a clan heiress owe you a favor was a great thing. Naruto was just happy to have a new friend. He had learned some forging, enough to make his ring in clamps. Naruto went with the metal pressing option to make them. That was when you took a hammer with the seal carved into it and you hammer out the seal onto the rings and clamps. Tenten had been a great help with the making of the rings and clamps. He had to pay her of course, but it was a small price to pay for Naruto. He was still making enough money to get whatever a 13-year-old boy could ever want and then some. Tenten turned out to be a great friend for Naruto to make. She was an orphan also and had nothing against him and also started to learn seals from Naruto. She had just graduated from the academy and had been top kunoichi. She was on a team with some people whom she called eccentric. He was not one to judge, but one day, when he came to pick her up from her team to help him with forging, it was an interesting day. Tenten's teacher was a guy named Guy and he was an interesting person. He had a bowl-cut hair with the biggest bushy eyebrows that Naruto had ever seen. He could swear they were moving on their own. He wore a green one-piece training jumpsuit with orange leg warmers. The man also had a tendency to go into long speeches about nothing but the flames of youth, and Tenten said if he ever starts spouting anything about the flames of youth, like her teammate does now, she wouldn't help him anymore. Tenten seemed to be able to use any kind of weapon from a sword to a battle axe and seemed to know the basics of all the weapons she used. She knew more than the basics with a sword and long-range weapons and in the use of wires, but she seemed to know next to nothing about most elemental jutsu other than she had a lightning affinity. Naruto had given her a book from the Uchiha library about elemental manipulation and just lighting chakra by itself. Hanabi had recently taken an interest in electronics and how they worked, and with the money that Naruto now had he had bought her some books on the subject. He had also got her some electronics that he could get his hands on, like wireless radios, normal radios, TVs, and he even convinced Anko to give him one of the broken computers in her department and a radio dish. The computer and radio dish would have been near impossible to get new because of how rare they were and how hard they were to make. When Naruto gave Hanabi these, she gave one of her rare shows of emotion and just had to thank him for the early birthday present. It was a great day to be Naruto, and it went down as one of his best days next to the day he discovered seals and the days that he spent most of his day practicing Hinjutsu with Hinata turning her into a pile of mush. Sasuke even took up the violin because she saw that everyone else had a hobby and she decided to get one. Naruto had forging and Fuinjutsu. Hanabi had her electronics. Hinata liked to study flowers and other plants. Yakumo liked to paint. Tenten liked to study books on old weapons. It was easy for her to get lessons as she was the last Uchiha sister. It was almost too easy, and that just pissed Sasuke off. Her brother could get most anything he wanted if he showed the smallest interest in it. She wasn't going to pass up a free opportunity, and she took the few free lessons with a few beginners' books the owner of the shop gave her. Naruto was taking it easy today and was finishing up one of the Fuinjutsu books that he had gotten from his Jiji. At the end of the book he saw some sealing notes that he saw on a lot of the books, but this one looked different as it had a little over half a blood seal on it. The seal just seemed to run off the page. He looked at the other books he had seen notes on the back covers and looked at them more closely. It took Naruto about an hour, but when he was done he was left with 20 books. Out of all the books Naruto was given, most of them had notes on the back, but those he picked out stood out as a real seal and not just notes. When he set them up there were a security word and a blood seal. The seal was overly complicated to hide what it really was. He first tried the word seal, putting in the name of the village, the names of the Hokages, and some of the clans. After that he took a closer look at the seal and a word seemed to come to him, Uzumaki. He wondered why it would be his last name that worked the lock, but he just used it and the first part of the seal unlocked. All that was left was the blood seal, and if his name unlocked the first seal, he used his blood on the second. With a puff of smoke there was a 3.5 feet long 1 foot wide scroll. It was dark blue with a crashing wave design on both ends of the scroll. There was a note on the front of the scroll on a red swirl emblem keeping the scroll shut. He took the note that turned out to be a letter and read it. Dear Naruto-chan. Hello honey, this is your mother. If you are reading this, I'm no longer among the living. I'm sorry my little Naru-chan. My name is Kushina Uzumaki and I'm originally from the land of whirlpools Uzushiogaku, and I am a part of the Uzumaki clan. I was sent to the Leaf Village to promote continued friendship between the two villages. But soon after I left, our village was attacked and the village was all but destroyed. Most of our clan's heirlooms and teachings were almost lost, but the clan head at the time was able to save them in the scroll in front of you. He used Fuinjutsu to make the scroll go to the person who was the safest and the closest to the head of the family. That was me, and at the age of 10 I didn't know what to do with it. But when I made genin I looked through the scroll and learned much from it. I'm even in the bingo book as an S-ranked ninja as Whirlpool's Red Death. I wish I could have watched you grow up to the man you were always meant to be. I love you Naruto-chan and I always will. Naruto was crying by the end of the letter, but there were two things on his mind. He needed to protect this scroll and he was going to have a talk with the old man. Naruto took the Uzumaki scroll and sealed it in a seal on his wrist and ran to the Hokage's tower. Naruto walked up to the secretary in front of the Hokage's office and asked if he could see the Hokage. This concerned her a bit because Naruto always called the Hokage Gigi when he came by and said that the Hokage was free and let him in. Naruto went to the chair in front of his desk and said, Hokage, we need to talk. This also surprised Sarutobi a great deal as when he looked at Naruto he didn't have his normal smile on his face. Sarutobi said, Hello Naruto, how is the Fuinjutsu study going? Good, I'm into the second set of books and am almost done with them, but that isn't why I'm here. In those books there was a word and blood seal and I want to know if you know the name Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto asked. The Hokage sighed at the question. He expected to have this conversation with him but not now and asked, where did you hear the name from? Naruto pulled out the letter and said, from this letter she wrote to me. Now there was no way out of this, the Hokage said, she was your mother Naruto. I was going to tell you about her when you made Chunin and I will tell you about your father when you make Jonin. Why? Naruto said in a controlled voice. You have to understand Naruto, they had many enemies that wouldn't give it a second thought about sending ninja to kill their child, Sarutobi answered. Naruto was angry and exclaimed, I don't care old man. All I ever wanted to know is if they loved me. You could have at least told me that. All that you ever told me was that you didn't know who they were. Sarutobi sighed again expecting this and said, I couldn't risk you asking me more questions about them, they had enemies in this village too. It would only take one misstep on my part to give them all the information they needed to figure out who your parents were. And that is something I couldn't let happen. Naruto was silent for a moment and went through the breathing exercises that the girls taught him so he wouldn't lose it and asked, did they leave me anything? There were a few things but you have to be a ninja for some of them. I can give you some books, scrolls and your mother's sword. You already have your mother's Fuinjutsu books. Sarutobi said. He got up and went to the same safe he went to get the first set of scrolls he got. When he came back he had about 10 scrolls and handed them to Naruto. Naruto looked at the scrolls as the Hokage put them in front of him. There were some on forging and some metal to work with. There were a lot of spare weapons. Then he got to his mother's sword and took it out of its scroll. It was beautiful, it had a dark blue sheath with silver accents and a red hilt. Another scroll came out with the sword and it was a kenjutsu style. He pulled out the sword a bit and saw that it too was a dark blue color and it was polished to a beautiful shine. It's beautiful. Naruto said in a soft voice. That it is, was there anything else you wanted Naruto? Sarutobi asked. Yes, do you have a bingo book with her in it? Naruto asked. Sarutobi thought for a moment and went to one of the bookshelves in his office, looked through it quickly, and picked one out and handed it to Naruto. It is separated by village and in alphabetical order. Sarutobi said. Naruto nodded and left the Hokage's office. When Naruto got home he called Erasure and told her to tell the girls that he wouldn't be coming to train today because he had a lot to think about. So Naruto started going through the scrolls he got from the Hokage and the Uzumaki scroll to see what was inside them. He went through the forging scrolls and found that had some techniques to make seals into metal, and one of them was the ways he was making his, but there were others. In one of the others there was a small library and Naruto didn't have enough shelves to put them all, so put getting more on his to-do list. There were a few scrolls with all the spare weapons Naruto would need for a few years, and he put that one over to the side to look at them all later. Then he got to the Uzumaki scroll and started going through that. There was everything from history to ninjutsu. Naruto couldn't get the grin off his face when he got to the Fuinjutsu section. It was huge. He thought he should start with history to get to know more about his clan and where they were from. He found out that this clan was from a village called Uzushiogakure, which was in the land of the whirling tides. They were a relatively peaceful people that lived on a series of islands that were protected by natural whirlpools and away from the mainland during the warring clans era. He also found out that the Uzumaki clan helped in the creation of the Hidden Leaf Village. They acted as the neutral ground that the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan used to meet and negotiate the creation of the new village. Over many meetings they came to an agreement, and when the Senju and the Uchiha came to this agreement, many other clans, not wanting to fight the two clans at once, quickly joined. With many other clans joining them, the Leaf Village quickly grew, and the other clans, fearing what this new village could do, quickly made their own villages to try to match the Leaf Village's strength. As a show of friendship and alliance, the Leaf added the Uzumaki swirl to the back of their flak jackets. He also found out that he had a bloodline. It was a body-based bloodline that gave him much larger reserves of chakra, increased stamina, and an accelerated healing rate. An Uzumaki could even lose a hand, leg, or arm, and if he were to survive the event, the part of the body could grow back in a few days. He also learned that an Uzumaki could use their blood to heal others if he were to put enough chakra into it. The next thing he found out was that an Uzumaki's mind was wired to read Fuinjutsu as if it was a book, which seemed to be a bit of a double-edged sword. They were known throughout the world as the best in the world, as it was said that one Uzumaki seal master was worth 5 of any other. When Naruto read this, he knew he had a long way to go. But being known throughout the world as the best sealers got them some enemies, and one day during the Second Shinobi War Uzushiogakure was nearly wiped off the map. He got to a section of the scroll that had crafting and forging materials. If Naruto was reading the scroll right, there was at least 4 whole dragon hides with the bones. There was also a sea serpent that was 60 feet long with the bones. It even had a large quantity of chakra metal, and all of this could be melted down into weapons. If Naruto desired to sell any of this, which he wasn't, he would make tens of millions of yen and he would be set for the rest of his life. Naruto must have been at it for hours, as when he looked out the window the sun was already setting. He was thinking about what he had learned for about 10 minutes before someone knocked at the door. He got up to answer it and opened the door to Hinata, Hanabi, Sasuke, and Tenten standing at his front door. "Hello Naruto-kun, you didn't come to training today, which is really odd for you, so we decided to come over and see what was wrong," Sasuke said. Naruto looked at all the girls and saw that they weren't going to be going anywhere until they got an explanation and invited them in. They saw a lot of books on his dining room table, most of them open, on all sorts of different subjects. The girls had a seat at the table and Naruto laid up against one of the walls in the kitchen. Naruto sighed and said, "Nothing's wrong, I just got some information that is taking a little while to accept." Hinata asked, curious, "What did you find out about?" Naruto sighed again and knew he had to get this off his chest, and he knew that his apartment was secure from the outside. He wouldn't practice Henjutsu in his apartment if it wasn't because that would lead to a lot of questions he really didn't want to have to answer. Who wanted to talk to the Hyuga head about why his daughters were nude on his bed? He said, "I found out who my mother was." The news surprised everyone in his apartment, especially Tenten, because as an orphan it was a dream come true to know who your parents are. Tenten asked, "Who was she?" "Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was a jonin from this village," Naruto said. It only took a moment and Tenten was nearly on top of him with stars in her eyes and said, "Your mom was Whirlpool's Red Death." She surprised the hell out of Naruto because she must have shunshined in front of him. Naruto said, yes, I think that was her name in the bingo book I got from the old man. Wow, Tenten, talk about a fangirl moment, Sasasha said with a smirk. Tenten turned and pointed a finger at Sasasha and said, this is not a fangirl moment. Kushina Uzumaki is one of only 4 kunoichi that have ever been given an S rank in the bingo book. All the other girls were surprised at that, and Tenten continued, she is one of my heroes and she is one of the few people that can match one of the Sannin in a fight. Her skill with a sword was said to be better than that of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, and paired with her skill with water jutsu being just below that of the second Hokage, she was nearly untouchable on the battlefield. Is that true, Naruto-kun? Hinata said. Naruto sighed as he rubbed the back of his head and said, yes, from what I learned today that's all true. If you want to look at her entry in the bingo book, it's on the table, pointing to one of the books in front of Hanabi. Hanabi saw the bingo book and picked it up from where it lay open face down on the table and looked at the entry for Kushina Uzumaki. It had all the information that Tenten had said and a bit more, like Kushina Uzumaki was from Uzushiogakyure, which was in the land of the whirling tides. It also said that she was one of the last members of the Uzumaki clan. Hanabi asked about the clan and Naruto said that yes, he was also a part of that clan and he had been doing some reading from the books that the old man had given him on his clan's history. He wasn't going to tell them about the clan scroll that he got, but told them about the scrolls that he got from the old man, including his mother's sword and the kenjutsu that came with it. When he mentioned the sword and the kenjutsu style, Tenten was almost vibrating with excitement and asked to see it. Naruto thought there was no way Tenten could be this turned on by the sight of the blue blade, and Tenten was almost drooling at the sight of it. She asked to hold it, but Naruto said no, and Tenten understood that the sword was going to be very important to him. She was able to look at the kenjutsu style though. She asked if she could learn the style, and Naruto thought for a moment. He knew that the scroll that the old man had given him was mostly the basics and the rest of the style was in the Uzumaki clan scroll. So he said yes, but he wasn't going to be paying her for her help at the forge anymore. She took that as a small price to pay and agreed. They talked more of the history of his clan, but Sasasha and Hanabi were only listening with half an ear as they thought about what they had learned. Naruto was the last male heir known to a clan that used to rule a country, and he may have to act as a clan head in the future. They had already been working with Naruto to help keep his cool, but they may have to do a lot more than that if he was going to be head of a clan. After the girls got all these questions out, it had already been a few hours and was starting to get dark outside. They could see that Naruto was more relaxed now that he had gotten all that out. He was still a bit on edge, and Sasasha decided to help Naruto relax. Looking at the huge twin, Sasasha said, you better get going, Hinata, Hanabi. Hinata looked a bit unsure. She also saw that Naruto was still on edge. Don't worry about Naruto-kun, I'm going to stay the night with him tonight and I'm sure Tenten wouldn't mind staying, Sasasha finished. Hinata and Hanabi looked at Sasasha for once with the same expression, trying to figure out what Sasasha was up to. They knew that they couldn't stay tonight with Naruto because they would have half the clan looking for them before they could even get to sleep. It was one of the things that Hinata wasn't able to do. Tenten blushed a little at the idea of staying with Naruto. She knew that he practiced Hinjutsu, and she had even taken a course on the subject when she found out he did and learned more on the subject. Her team didn't know that she had taken the course, but she knew that her teacher probably does but didn't say anything about it. She was grateful for that. She had never really practiced the subject with Naruto, but she knew that it was only a matter of time. Don't worry, Hinata-chan, I'm not going to steal your boyfriend. I'm just going to keep him company tonight with Tenten, if she wants to, Sasasha said. Tenten looked at Hinata and said, I'll stay if it is alright with Hinata-chan. Hinata thought for a moment and said it was okay and walked up to Naruto and gave him a deep kiss, saying goodnight. Hanabi said goodnight and left with her sister. This left Naruto, Tenten, and Sasasha in Naruto's apartment. 3 hormonal teenage ninja going through puberty that have studied Hinjutsu, what could possibly go wrong? Tenten and Sasasha made dinner while Naruto read more about his clan, then they went to bed. Naruto got down to his boxers, which were black with little bowls of ramen on them. Tenten and Sasasha giggled at that. Sasuke striped down to a black bra and a black thong, and Tenten went to the same state of undress only with a white bra and thong. Naruto got a good look at them both and liked what he saw. Sasuke had an athletic build with a B-cup with a slim waist and hips that were just the right size for her body. With the black bra and thong on her pale skin, not as pale as Hinata's, made a good contrast. Tenten on the other hand had a plumper build with a cup with wide hips and legs that went on forever. Tenten's white bra and thong had the same contrast that Sasuke had, but Tenten had nicely tanned skin. Naruto knew it was going to be a long, difficult night. Naruto, now in his last year at the academy, was sitting in a seat in Iruka-sensei's class in the middle of Hinata and Sasuke. Naruto tried to listen to his sensei, he really did, but it was so boring. He had so much fun in the last summer that sitting in class was just too mind-numbingly boring. They were reviewing what they had learned last year and what they were going to cover this year, and Naruto could say with no doubt in his mind that it was going to be a boring year. It was the last year of the academy and they weren't going to cover any of the subjects that he liked. They weren't going to study Fuinjutsu, elemental manipulation, or Hinjutsu. The only subject that he was going to enjoy this year was trap making, and even then there was probably little that he hadn't figured out through trial and error with his pranks. Now Hinjutsu, he could understand that there were classes on the subject that you could take after you graduated, he had heard from Tenten. Fuinjutsu on the other hand was an incredibly useful art, and once you got just the basics down you could at the very least not need to buy a sealing scroll or explosive tags. Of course, Naruto thought a bit more on the subject. If they did, Naruto wouldn't be making as much money as he was making seals. The last one, elemental manipulation, only some of the clan kids knew about and some in no real detail. It can be a bit of a dangerous practice, only those with a wind affinity were in any real danger of getting ahead of themselves and getting hurt practicing a jutsu that was beyond them. It was going to be a boring year, and Naruto knew that he was going to be getting some more time to study some of his favorite subjects. If he played his cards right and his luck held up, which it always did for some reason, he could be a high-class journeyman or a low-class seal master by the end of the school. It also gave Naruto time to work on his latest project. After school, Naruto and the girls went to their usual training ground and started to train. Yakumo was going to be training with them today. She had made some good strides in becoming a ninja. Her taijutsu had improved quite a bit, and her genjutsu on the other hand had improved in leaps and bonds. With the help of her bloodline she was able to make genjutsu so powerful that it caused the victim to believe anything that happens to the victim within the genjutsu physically harmed their body. She had mostly fire-based genjutsu and the creation of monsters that can't be easily dispelled. She did this by making the monsters double or sometimes triple layer genjutsu, but she could only make 2 or 3 of the bigger ones of them at a time. It was a productive day of training with their little group. Hinata almost had the ball of water a meter out of the water, but the ball was unstable and would pop from time to time. Hinata was also working with Anko on learning the Hibi fighting style when it became apparent to Hinata that the Hyuga style was too rigid for her body. The Hibi style focused more on flexibility and solid strikes to vital areas. She was also looking at the Phantomu style, which was a purely defensive and evasion style. The Phantomu was one that Yakumo found and was practicing as it went great with genjutsu and her weaker than average body. Hanabi was also working on her element, but it was going slower for her as she could dry out the leaf, but she was having a problem grinding it to dust. Her taijutsu had improved quite a bit and she was the best in their group at taijutsu. The Hyuga style just fit her body. Hanabi wasn't as flexible as Hinata. Sometimes she wonders if her sister is double or triple jointed, but she did have some and she worked into the style when she could. Sasuke worked on the kenjutsu style that the uchiha used. It was a mix of a few styles and focuses on quick and accurate strikes through an opponent's defenses. She was making good progress with some pointers from Anko. She got the info from Uzuki. Tenten wasn't there today, out on a few missions with her team, so that left Naruto and Yakumo to work together. They were doing mainly physical exercises, push-up, sit-ups, running, and sparring. They were sparing no. Naruto used a bastardized version of the strong fist. He used it in a loose stance where he was able to adapt to changes in the opponent's fighting, be it with taijutsu, ninjutsu, Kenjutsu, and in the case of Yakumo, Genjutsu. Yakumo's Genjutsu was a bit different to others because she mainly used her fire and monster Genjutsu, and with those she used multiple layers Genjutsu. They can physically hurt Naruto, and he isn't that good with Genjutsu. With Yakumo, her Genjutsu monsters can be physically fought, but if you don't break the jutsu they will just keep coming back. Naruto ran at Yakumo, who had one of her monsters in front of her. This one was about 4 feet tall and seemed to be covered in red-brown skin. It had no real head, what it had was more of a mound of flesh with a hole where the face would be. It had a thick body with hands that had 3-foot-long claws. Yakumo's monster went to defend her with a thrust of its claws. Naruto dodged left and punched the monster, but it didn't move much and took another swipe at Naruto. As Naruto was fighting her monster, Yakumo finished another set of hand signs. On the ground all around her, foot-long bugs that looked like moth larvae came into being from what looked like ash collecting. There was about 10 of them, and most of them went underground and the rest went at Naruto. Naruto, seeing the new monsters, knew he had to get rid of the one he was fighting. Now Naruto wasn't good at Genjutsu, but there was one thing he knew that could kill these monsters. Dodging another swipe from the first monster, he put his hands together in a praying motion, concentrated his chakra into what he imagined to be a sphere and pulsed his chakra. Yakumo, knowing what Naruto was doing, had her monsters dodge, but the first one was not fast enough to get away and shattered like glass. The pulse was about 5 feet wide, and when it dissipated she had her larva spit at Naruto a purple liquid. Naruto charged Yakumo while dodging the liquid, but when he got loose 3 larvae popped out of the ground in front of him and latched onto his legs. Where the larvae were started to burn, and Naruto saw that the bugs were producing the same liquid that was being spit at him. He charged another pulse and shattered the bugs on his legs and a few globs of acid that were about to hit him. Yakumo was finishing another set of hand signs, and she used one of her fire Genjutsu Will-O-Wisp. 5 balls of fire about a foot wide appeared that looked like they had an eye in the middle and started to shoot balls of fire that were about the size of softballs. Naruto, seeing this, thought, I hate fighting long range. Dodging even more projectiles of fire and acid, he went through hand signs and called out wind style, blade bits. He swung his arms out and 24 wind blades the size of razors shot off. They went through a few fireballs but didn't do anything and just passed through them. Naruto wasn't aiming at them because he knew fighting Genjutsu with ninjutsu was pointless. He was aiming at Yakumo. Yakumo, seeing the blades coming, weaved her way through them and only came out with a few shallow cuts. She ran to one of her wisps and held it in her hand. Naruto, seeing this, wondered what she was doing. She had never done that before. Yakumo concentrated on the wisp and it began to change. The fire began to wrap around her hand and forearm. When she was done, her hands and forearm were covered in orange fire. She opened her hands and there was an eye on each palm. She pointed her palm at Naruto and started to shoot fire at him herself. Naruto, seeing this, knew he had a bit of a problem. Yakumo's normal wisps had perfect aim, and with the speed at which they flew at someone they were a bit difficult to dodge. But their perfect aim and their independent thinking was their weakness. They shot where you are, not where you are going to be. The wisps weren't smart, all they knew is shot the target, but if you were fast enough they would never hit you, just keep you on your toes. The difference is now is Yakumo can think and will aim where Naruto is going to be when he dodges the other fireballs and acid. Naruto knew that he had to get rid of the bugs and the wisps. So he went to the bugs first. They were small but they were slow. It only took Naruto a moment to get to the bugs and shatter them. He took out a few seals and said Fuinjutsu style, Hado 10, Kyukiku, sphere shells. And, yes, I made this one up. The seals burned and 24 purple balls of energy appeared. They began to fire 2 or 3 at a time at Yakumo to keep her from taking too many shots at Naruto. By the time they had all fired, Naruto had taken down 2 of the wisps, but the other 2 were in Yakumo's hands. She didn't want to lose them like the others, and she had one more thing to try. Naruto and Yakumo stared at each other and Naruto said, "Your Genjutsu is getting better." Yakumo smiled and said, "Yes, they are. My bloodline helps out a lot, but it comes with some side effects." Naruto looked a little confused and said, "What side effects?" Yakumo smiled and said, "You are about to find out." With that said, she concentrated on the 2 remaining wisps and they began to flow up her arms. The fire became more defined than they were before. Before it was just fire going up her arms, but now they looked like armor, and arm guards on her forearms and an armored shoulder caps with plates of armor going down to the elbow, with an armored claw on her hands. Yakumo undid the braid in her hair, and that was when Naruto noticed another change. Her eyes were now a deep purple with what could only be described as insane glee in them. Yakumo looked at Naruto and smiled and said, "Are you going to play with me, Naruto-chan?" Naruto, now thoroughly confused at the near childlike voice she was speaking in, nodded, and that was all Yakumo needed. She charged at Naruto at a speed that he didn't know she had and tried to take off his head when a sword of fire formed where her hand was. Naruto ducked and hit her in the stomach, but all it did was knock her back when it should have done more than that. Naruto threw a pair of kunai at her with a chakra threading seal on them, making a net between them, and Naruto found out why the punch had little effect: Genjutsu. Yakumo passed right through the net, still charging him, and at that moment another Yakumo appeared behind him with a hand raised ready to slash at his back. Naruto ran forward at the Yakumo in front of him, charging a chakra pulse. The Yakumo behind him took the back of his jacket, exposing the chain mail under it. The Yakumo in front of him made no attempt to dodge and fired a thin stream of fire at him. Naruto's chakra pulsed and passed through the Yakumo and nothing happened. He barely dodged the steam of fire and leaped back and looked at the 2 Yakumos in front of him, now more confused than ever. Both of the Yakumos smiled at his confusion, and one of the Yakumos said, "Confused Naruto-chan?" Naruto nodded as he took off his jacket. "You see, Naruto-chan, one of us is a Genjutsu and one is not," the other Yakumo said. "I got that far, Yakumo, but I got the Genjutsu, Naruto said. They both smiled and said together, "Are you sure, Naruto-chan? And there is something you should know, my name isn't Yakumo, it's Alessa." At that they charged again. Naruto, still confused, took off at them. One of them grew their claws to 3 times their original size, and the other was shooting steams of fire at him. The clawed one got in close and took a few swipes at him, while the other covered any openings that the clawed one made. This went on for a few moments until Naruto got tired of it, and when the clawed one made slash up and Naruto ducked low and hit her with all his might, knocking her back to the other one. Naruto took out a flash seal, closed his eyes and set it off, and after he looked to see which Yakumo was blinded after the flash. Naruto took the chance and took out a shuriken with a wire on it and threw it at one as he charged another pulse while running at the second Yakumo. The second pulse worked and Naruto quickly ran at the other one before she could get free. After catching Yakumo, or was it Alessa, she struggled a little before giving up and said, "Well, Naruto-chan, what are going to be with me now? Are you going to have your way with me?" "Well, for one, no, I'm not going to have my way with you, and can you explain to me what the hell that was?" Naruto said, still confused. Yakumo smiled and said, "Well, Naruto-chan, my name is Alessa and I'm the other Yakumo." At Naruto's even more confused face she explained, "When someone from my clan uses our bloodline, we sometimes develop a second personality to help with the more complicated Genjutsu. So when Yakumo started to focus only on Genjutsu, I developed much quicker than normal. Not that I wasn't already on my way before, it would have just taken longer." "So this is the side effect she was taking about?" Naruto asked. Alessa nodded. "That's a weird effect." Alessa shrugged and said, "It may be weird, but hey, I'm not complaining." "How did you dodge my first pulse?" Naruto asked. "I got Sasasha's help and made a seal that is on my wrists. It's a chakra storage seal, and with it I was able to learn Kawarimi no Jutsu, and it was a piece of cake to change places with my Genjutsu clone," Alessa said. Naruto was surprised and asked, "You can use jutsu now?" "No, Naruto-chan, I can't. Just using Kawarimi no Jutsu puts my body in pain, not that pain is a bad thing. My body isn't used to normal chakra," Alessa said. Naruto thought about that for a moment and nodded and asked, "What do you mean that pain isn't a bad thing?" Alessa smiled and said, "Pain is a normal part of life, the burning muscle of a hard day's workout, the pain after a good spar, and the pain of being spanked." Alessa's smile got bigger as she saw the blush that was now on Naruto as he tried to say something, but Alessa answered before it could be asked, "Yes, Naruto, me and Yakumo like being in pain." You should come over to our house and see the stuff we have hidden under the floor in our closet. Naruto tried to get his blush under control and said, maybe later. Alessa looked happy when he said that and let Naruto untie her. It was a productive day of training even with the fact that when Yakumo got back in control she couldn't even look at Naruto knowing the conversation that he and Alessa had. It didn't compare to the embarrassment that she felt when Naruto said that all she needed to do was ask after they were done training. A month into the new year at school for Naruto and the girls at the academy and they were looking forward to their ninja careers. There was one more thing that Naruto wanted to do for the girls before they got into the ninja world. Naruto was done with his next seal but he needed a little help putting it up. So one Friday after school Naruto got Hanabi and headed to an unused training field and got to work. Naruto needed a good hard surface to write on and a few other things for the seal to work. It took Hanabi a while but she was able to get what Naruto needed done. At the end they had a good hard surface to write on with 12 pillars coming out of the ground. The pillars were about 6 feet tall and were in 2 circles, one smaller than the other. In the middle of it was a pedestal that was round and about 5 feet across. Naruto knew it was going to take a while to get this seal done so he got to work. It took Naruto about a day and a half to get the seals all down on the ground and on the pillars, but when he was done it could be called a work of art. The seal consisted of 2 large circles that ran into all the pillars with the pillars themselves having 3 lines of seals going up their sides. In the middle of the 2 seals there was a circle and on the other side in the inner circle there was another circle. The most complicated part of the seal was in the middle where the seal spiraled out from the pedestal. When it was done Naruto spent the rest of the day checking the seal for any mistakes. Finding none he reactivated the security seals he set up the night before. They made the place where the seal was nearly invisible and he also set up a few trap seals just to be safe. With that done he went home and went to bed. The next day Naruto met up with everyone, Sasuke, Hinata, Hanabi, Yakumo, and Tenten, and he even got Anko and Hana to come with them. When Anko saw Naruto she brought him to her bosom with a smile. Now Naruto liked where he was but he needed to breathe. "Hi Anko-chan, how are you today?" Naruto said. Anko smiled and said, "Well hello Naruto-kun. Now I have a question Naruto-kun." Naruto said, "What? When are you going to practice some Hinjutsu with me?" Anko asked. Naruto blushed at that and said, "I think I need to practice a bit more before I practiced with you." I'll go easy on you," Anko said. Naruto tried to ignore Anko and said hi to Hana and the Hammer brothers. Hana smiled and said hi. With the hellos out of the way they went to the training ground so everyone could get a good look at the seal that Naruto made. But when they got there they put on a pair of goggles and took a look at the seals. "Someone was messing with my seals," Naruto said. This surprised everyone because only the girls and Naruto knew they were working here and Anko said, "Did they get in?" "No, but not for a lack of trying," Naruto said as he deactivated the invisibility and they saw what he meant. There was a crater on the ground but the odd part about this crater was in a half circle like it had hit something. Naruto went up to the edge of the crater and taped on something. When he did a dark blue dome came into view. They disabled the traps but the barrier I set up was too much for them and they weren't about to break it, even with force, Naruto said pointing at the crater. Hana asked Naruto, "How good would they have to be able to break all your seals?" "Pretty good considering they couldn't see the seals because the invisibility seal is on the inside of the barrier and I only know of 2 ways to see the seals. The first is to have the goggles I made myself to see them or the second is to have the Byakugan," Naruto said. Everyone looked at Hinata and Hanabi. Hanabi said, "It wasn't us. We didn't tell anyone." Anko thought for a moment and said, "Well it looks like you are having someone spy on you." "Why would they want to spy on me?" Naruto asked. Anko looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto-kun, sealers of your level are rare and the seals you make can be very valuable to the right people." Naruto had to nod at that as he was making a few $100,000 a month to make seals. Naruto decided that he would put more advanced security on his house when he got home. They all went up to the seal that was written on the ground and Sasuke said, "Wow, Naruto, this has got to be the biggest seal you have ever made." Naruto smiled with a bit of pride and said, "Yep, this is the biggest and I wanted to give you all a spirit of your own." "Really, how do we know they will like being summoned?" Hinata asked. "I made the seal to pick a spirit depending on the chakra and to pick a spirit that is bored and open-minded," Naruto said. "Cool, it's amazing what you can do with seals, Naruto-kun," Hanabi said. "Yeah, I'm an Uzumaki, so it runs in my blood, I guess," Naruto said. "What does being an Uzumaki have to do with being good at seals?" Hinata asked as she came and hugged Naruto from behind. Well, the Uzumaki clan was a clan that specialized in seals. They were also known for a few other things like their massive reserves of chakra, the ability to heal nearly any wound that didn't kill them immediately, and their long lives, Naruto said. "Long lives?" Hinata asked. "Yeah, even a citizen of the Uzumaki clan could live to well into their hundreds," Naruto said. "Being a ninja only lengthened their lives, if they weren't killed in battle. It wasn't uncommon for an Uzumaki to live to see 200. That was why the Uzushiogakure village also has the name the Village of Longevity. So that's why you have the chakra and stamina to fight all three of us at the same time," Sasuke said, referring to herself, Hinata, and Hanabi. Naruto nodded and said, "Now that that's out of the way, let me explain the seal." He explained that all you have to do is pump your chakra into the small outermost circle and the seal will do the rest. Hinata gave Naruto a kiss on the cheek and went to get a closer look at the seal. Sasuke came up in front of him and said, "Naruto-kun, can I get a kiss too?" Naruto blushed and said, "Sasuke, we have been over this. Hinata is my girlfriend." "That may not matter anymore if the Uzumaki clan has a bloodline," Sasuke said. "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "Well, you are the last male of a clan with a bloodline, Naruto-kun. The council in their infinite wisdom may put you under the Clan Restoration Act," Sasuke said with sarcasm evident in her voice at the end. "What?" Hinata asked now that the conversation had her full attention. "Well, it means that Naruto may have to take more than one wife so that his clan will grow faster," Sasuke said. "The reason I know this is that I am the last female of a clan and have looked into it." Naruto, still reeling at the fact that he may have more than one wife, asked, "What did you find out about yourself?" "Well, if my brother the last Uchiha wasn't here, I would probably be used as breeding stock for my clan," Sasuke said. "The council has probably already brought it up in one of their meetings." Anko snorted and said, "Oh, you're right about that, but the Hokage has put a stop to anyone trying to, as he put it, court you." Sasuke, looking resigned at that, said, "That's a nice way of putting it." "What would happen if they did court you?" Naruto said. "I would probably have to have a child by the age of 16 and they would use me till I was no longer useful and throw me away," Sasuke said. "That's not right," Naruto said. "No, it's not, but most of the council doesn't care about that. All they care about is getting my clan's money and power," Sasuke said. "That's one of the reasons Sakura is in our class. She is the daughter of the head of the Citizens' Council and has convinced her daughter that Sasuke is the best man in the world." Naruto thought about it for a moment and asked, "Does that mean that Ino is the same way?" Sasuke laughed at that and said, "No, she doesn't. I'm pretty good at reading people and I think that Ino is only chasing Sasuke because Sakura is." "What do you mean?" Hanabi asked. "Well, Ino and Sakura used to be best friend. They used to play together all the time, but after Sakura started to chase my brother, Ino couldn't stand getting less attention from her best friend and also started to chase my brother. When that happened, Sakura decided not to be friends with her anymore and they became rivals," Sasuke said. Everyone in the room thought about that for a moment and Sasuke continued, "It probably wouldn't take much to get Ino to stop being a fangirl. Just a push in the right direction would get her on the path to being a real ninja. But that's something for another time. Well, now that that's out of the way, who wants to go first?" Naruto asked. "I'll go first," Anko said. Anko stepped into the seal on the ground and knelt in a small circle in between the two larger circles. She then started to channel chakra into the seal and everyone saw two spherical barriers go up. She then started to channel chakra into the seal and everyone saw two spherical barriers go up, one of the barriers on the outside most circle, and the other on the inside of the seal around the pedestal in the middle of the seal. On the pedestal nothing seemed to happen for a moment, and then all the seals glowed and an orange light started to appear. Then all at once fire came out of the pedestal and a figure appeared. It looked to be a woman who seemed a little confused. She was obviously not human, however, as she was covered in fire and what looked like black coals covering her red-orange skin, along with a pair of small black horns to complete the demonic look. The creature of fire saw Anko and asked, "What am I doing here?" "Well, I summoned you here with the help of Naruto-chan over there," Anko said and pointed a thumb over her shoulder at Naruto. She continued, "My name is Anko, what's yours?" "Kusaburo." "Now, why would someone summon me?" Kusaburo asked. It was more along the lines of a loosely guided summoning. "Someone else could have been summoned, but the seal you're sitting in chose you," Anko said. Kusaburo looked down at the seal below the pedestal she was sitting on. How did he get an idea like this? He accidentally summoned a storm spirit a few months back and made a contract with it and thought it would be cool to get his friends some too. "So what are you, by the way?" Anko asked. "I'm an Ifrit, a race known to be beings of fire and always looking for power. If you're looking to make a contract with me, that may be a bit difficult, as I'm not a spirit like the last one that was summoned, I'm a being of flesh and blood," Kusaburo said, looking back at Anko. This got Anko to think for a moment and asked, "Well, what do you want to do?" Naruto-chan made this seal to pick summons that were bored and open-minded. "I may fall under those things, but I can never really stay in one place for a long time," Kusaburo replied. Anko looked at Kusaburo and asked, "Can you fight?" Kusaburo nodded and Anko continued, "Well, if you're good you can come with me on my missions, but you may have to tone down the fire on stealth missions." Kusaburo took a few minutes to think on this one and said, "That's all right with me," and as for toning it down, suddenly the fire began to recede from her form and her skin went from red to the color of polished brass. Her horns sank into her head and shoulder-length brown hair became visible without the flames obscuring the view. As the changes finished she gave a slight grin at Anko. "How's this?" Anko nodded before she touched the inner dome and walked up to Kusaburo. She held out her hand, which Kusaburo took with a smile. The next one to go was Hanabi, and hers was relatively simple as she summoned an earth spirit named Burakusuden and was easily able to make a contract. Hana went after her and got a wolf spirit named Tanimu. Saizasha went through the same process as the others and waited for her spirit to come. After a moment, and a flash of red light later, there was a fox in the pedestal just sitting on it lazily. It was a red fox with black ears, muzzle, paws, and the tip of its tail. It looked at the seals on the ground and the barrier around it and then at Saizasha and said in a smooth but diffident male voice, "Hello there, little girl, how may I help you?" Saizasha was a bit irritated at being called a little girl, but ignored it and replied, "This seal was supposed to summon spirits, but from the feeling I'm getting from you, you aren't one." The fox gave a bit of a toothy grin and said, "I could be considered a spirit as I am a kitsune and we are spirit beings. My name is Hikagi, what can I call you, little girl?" "If it will stop you from calling me little girl, it's Saizasha," Saizasha said, "and I guess this summon is a bust as I'm not making a contract with a demon." The kitsune seemed to perk up at the mention of a contract and said, "Now don't be so hasty here, Saizasha, I think we can come to a deal." "I'm not selling my soul to a demon," Saizasha shot back. "Now whoever said anything about selling a soul?" Hikagi wheedled, "There are many things that can be bargained with." Now Saizasha is curious and asked, "Like what?" Hikagi sat up a little straighter and said, "Well, there are a few things like some of your life, information, or from what I can feel I could take a bit of power from you." Saizasha narrowed her eyes and replied guardedly, "You aren't getting any of my life. As for the other two, what kind of information, and what do you mean by taking my power?" "Well, that would be information like this seal I'm standing in, some memories of yours or other people, I don't care much, or some books that can be of some use to me. As for power, when I'm around you I will leech a bit of power from you and I will even answer a few of the questions you may have about me, my kind, or some other people or other beings you may have." "That is if the price is right," Hikagi answered. Saizasha thought about this for a moment and finally concluded, "I will have to think about this." That's fine, if you come to me I will give you something that will make it easier to get in contact with me, Hikage said. Sasasha narrowed her eyes and said, how do I know you won't try to get me or try to get out when I drop the barrier? I'll give you this bit of information for free, when a demon gives his word he can't go back on it. I, Hikage, will only give you what you need to summon me and I will not try to escape, Hikage promised. Sasasha thought about what he had said for a moment and decided to take a leap of faith in believing him. She touched the barrier and walked up to Hikage and asked, what are you giving me? Hold out your hand, Hikage answered. Sasasha did so and he bit into her forearm, but quickly let go. Sasasha pulled her arm back immediately and shouted, what the hell? She looked at her arm and saw the bite and the blood coming out of it. Hikage gave a toothy grin and said, I did exactly what I said I would do. I didn't say I wouldn't hurt you. Now look at your arm. Sasasha looked from Hikage back to her arm and saw a mark starting to appear on it. There were 2 black rings around her forearm and on top of her forearm was a circle that was over the rings with Hikage's name on it. All you have to do to summon me is put a bit of blood and chakra into the circle. Sasasha looked back to Hikage and said, well we're done here, and with a hand seal and a flash of light he was gone back to where he came from. She went back to the others and Hinata and Hana looked at the bite. Hana wrapped it and said it would be fine. 9. Now it was Hinata's turn and she got into the seal and put her chakra into it, then there was a flash of white. When the light was gone no one was there on the pedestal, instead there was what looks like an egg, about the size of a chicken egg, just sitting there. The spirits that were there almost had a heart attack at what this young lady just summoned. Did she just summon what I think she did? Burokusaten asked Tanamo. Tanamo nodded his head and replied faintly, I think so. Naruto turned to the spirits and asked, what did she summon? Burokusaten looked at Naruto and said, I think Hinata-san just summoned an angel egg. Everyone looked surprised at this and Naruto asked, what's an angel egg? Tanamo answered, it's something that helps a goddess control their abilities and use some of their more complex spells. Hinata's beautiful and all but a goddess. Naruto half asked, half stated, letting the sentence linger. The 2 spirits nodded and Naruto went on and finally asked, what does this mean? It means that your friend there is innocent enough for an angel egg to pick her to bond with, Tanamo said. They all looked back at Hinata. On the inside of the barrier Hinata couldn't hear the people and spirits on the outside of the seal. Hinata saw the egg on the pedestal and turned on her Byakugan to see if there was anything else in the seal. She almost immediately turned it off because of the bright light coming from the egg. She blinked the spots from her eyes and thought about what to do. The moment that her Byakugan was on she did see that the egg was the only thing in the seal. Hinata touched the inside barrier to dissolve it and she went up to the egg and picked it up. She held it in her hand and felt that it was warm to the touch. She looked at it closer and felt it move a little and saw it start to crack. Then the egg burst open and a light flew into Hinata's chest. Almost immediately Hinata was on her hands and knees in pain and the barrier around the seal broke. Naruto was at her side in a moment and tried to see what just happened. What happened? Naruto asked Burokusaten and Tanamo when he couldn't find anything wrong. The angel is bonding with her, it will be a bit of a painful process but it will pass when the egg settles in, Burokusaten answered. Naruto and everyone there looked back at Hinata and saw a bulge on her back and Naruto ripped open the back of Hinata's shirt. They saw just above Hinata's bra skin going up in an unnatural way with the ball of light in the middle. Then there was a flash of light that everyone shielded their eyes from. Looking back at Hinata they saw that she was no longer in pain, but was breathing a little heavy, but that wasn't what everyone was looking at. They were looking at what looked like a small person on Hinata's back. It was a girl that was the size of a small baby, but still looked like a full-grown woman. The little woman had long blonde hair and blue eyes and for some reason only one white angel wing. The little woman looked at everyone with a smile and waved at them. She then saw that Hinata was in pain and looked a little sad and put a comforting hand on Hinata's shoulder. Naruto got a little closer and asked Hinata if she was okay. Hinata nodded and said, yes, give me a moment. Okay Hinata-chan, but just so you know there is a little woman on your back, Naruto said. Hinata smiled at that and said, yes I know and I just got a lot of information at one time and I need a moment to sort it out. Her name is Cool Mint by the way. After a moment Hinata gathered herself up with a deep breath and looked at the small angel on her back. Cool Mint gave Hinata a smile when she saw that she was okay and Hinata smiled back. Hinata got up and looked at everyone and gave everyone a smile to show that she was okay. Hanabi asked, so what did you learn? A lot and it will take me a while to sort through all the information but I got the basics on angels and goddesses. I just can't believe that I summoned a real angel. Hinata said. Naruto smiled and said while hugging her, why not? You're my little angel Hinata-chan. Hinata blushed and didn't say anything, just snuggled into Naruto's chest. After moving Hinata out of the circle they continued with the summoning. Tenten went after Hinata and got a thunder spirit named Tsutoraiki. Things got interesting again at Yakumo's summoning. She went through the summoning process and a black and red light came through. When the light died down there was a young woman there, sitting on the pedestal. The young woman had light brown skin, a pair of DD breasts, with shoulder-length white hair, and what looked like two small wings that were black near the top fading to red at the bottom. She had on a thin, dark red nightgown that was nearly see-through and left nothing to the imagination with knee-high dark red stockings. The woman looked at Yakumo, who was blushing at what the woman was wearing, and said with a smile, hello, my name is Sadesna, how may I help you today? Yakumo answered, well Sadesna me and my friends were summoning spirits to help us train but I don't think you can help me in those clothes. Sadesna looked at her clothes and waved her hand and suddenly she was wearing a red kimono before she said, what would you want help with? Yakumo lost her blush and said, well I would like help with my gain jutsu. Sadesna tilted her head and Yakumo explained, the illusion arts. Sadesna smiled at that and said, if it's illusions then you came to the right succubus. The price isn't too high either. Yakumo thought that her being a succubus explained the nightgown she had on and asked, what price and what can you do? Sadesna answered, well all succubuses can perform illusions, it's how we hide our appearance and feed if we don't want to sleep with our chosen meal. We perform illusions mainly two ways, as she said that a tail that until this point hadn't been seen showed itself. We can use our tail, as she said that a spade at the end of her tail opened, all we have to do is put this on any part of the body and we can make our meals have wet dreams. Or the more powerful succubi can do the same thing and much more by just looking at someone. As for the price all I want is for you to gather some food for me. Yakumo frowned at that and asked how. Sadesna answered, I will teach you how to collect it through performing sexual acts. She laughed at Yakumo doing an excellent impression of a tomato. Don't be so shy honey, I can see the lust coming off of you right now. You can see lust? Yakumo asked still embarrassed. Oh yes, I can see the emotions you are giving off in waves, Sadesna said. She could see that Yakumo lusted after and had quite a bit of affection for a person and that wasn't all. She could also see that the teen had trust in this person bordering on obedience. Sadesna looked at the people outside the barrier that she was in and saw the boy, no, young man that had the girl's attention. From what she could see he also had the attention of all the young women present. It wouldn't be too hard to teach you how to collect lust and it will get you closer to that young man over there, Sadesna said looking back at Yakumo. To Yakumo it was a tempting offer but she had one more question for Sadesna and asked, if I say yes can you teach me to see emotions and cast illusions with only a look? Of course I can, it will cost you extra but it can be done, Sadesna answered. Yakumo nodded her head and said, you have a deal. Sadesna smiled little larger showing perfect white teeth and said, then come here young lady. Yakumo dissolved the inner barrier and walked forward to the succubus. Sadesna put a hand on Yakumo's chin and tilted her head up and when their eyes met Yakumo felt a rush of information. Sadesna moved her head forward to catch the distracted Yakumo in a deep kiss. Yakumo came to her senses a few moments later and all but leaped away. Why did you do that? Yakumo all but shouted. Sadesna smiled and said, I was just getting you started. Yakumo was about to ask what she meant when it hit her. Her heart beat a little faster and she was getting a little hot. Sadesna continued, you can take care of that yourself and collect the lust off yourself, but you will get a lot more if you ask for a little help. With that said, Sadesna left with a giggle in a burst of red light. With that the rest of the seal fell and everyone asked if she was all right and she said that she was fine. With everyone having their own summon they all left to get to know their new friend. The last two in the field were Naruto and Yakumo. Naruto was getting rid of the seal on the ground and Yakumo was having an inner debate with herself, but it was getting hard because she was still getting hotter and it was getting unbearable. It was just getting worse as she was so close to Naruto and she knew he could give her what she needed. It eventually became too much and when Naruto was done dismantling the seal Yakumo told Naruto what she needed and why, not that she needed the why, Naruto would have been happy to help. I mean what teen wouldn't, and he would be able to see what she hid in the floor in her closet. It turned into one of the greatest nights and morning of Yakumo's life. Ino was having one of the weirdest few weeks of her life. She had no reason for why, but she was now paying attention to Naruto and she saw that he was a lot closer to the girls than she thought. It wasn't anything big at first, just training and sparring together, but one day she followed Naruto after school and saw that it was more than that. Naruto would take the girls he hung out with on what looked like dates and not just to Ichiraku ramen. They would go there sometimes, but also to much fancier restaurants as well. Ino also found out that he even had more friends outside their class, people who were already ninja, and one of them she knew, Enko. Enko is not a woman that Ino thought any sane person would just hang out with. Ino first thought maybe Naruto was going out with all of them and that none of them had figured it out yet, and that was a story that Ino would love to spread. That idea was shot out of the sky when the next day Naruto went out with most of them after school shopping. It was Naruto with Sasuke, Hanabi, Hinata, a girl named Yakumo, and a girl named Tenten. To Ino it would have been a normal day of shopping, looking at shirts, shorts, pants, and other assorted things. Ino had tricked Choji and Shikamaru into taking her shopping more than once, and Ino was sure that Naruto was bored out of his mind, but he stuck with them and even paid for all the clothes that they got. That was another mystery. How in the world did Naruto have enough money to take 5 girls out shopping? They weren't just buying the cheap stuff after all. It was at the last stop that Ino finally figured it out, why Naruto had not gone insane with boredom. He was just waiting for the last shop on the trip, a store that Ino would never take Choji or Shikamaru to, a lingerie store. Ino was shocked, and the store clerk not only gave him a pleasant greeting, but guided him and the rest of the group right into the changing area, and Naruto went where no other guy should go, the women's changing rooms. Ino walked up to the manager of the store and asked, "How come you let a guy into the women's changing rooms with no fuss?" The manager, an older woman that Ino was pretty sure was also the owner, answered, "Oh, that group come in here every once in a while. The first time I said that a young man shouldn't come back there, but the girls said it was fine. I still insisted that they may be fine with it, but the other customers wouldn't. Then one of the girls brought up the point that with all of them only one room was left open, so it was basically just them. I let it go then because they had a point." Ino looked back at the changing room and then to the manager and said, "Can I try something on?" The manager looked at Ino and asked if she was sure she was comfortable with the boy being in there. Ino nodded and went to the changing rooms. She did a quick henge and went in. The next 10 minutes will be forever burnt into her mind. The girls seemed to not notice her and Naruto was far too distracted to take note of her. The girls were trying on all sorts of things from teddies to frilly bras to thongs. Ino might as well have been taking notes as they were in their own world. Sasuke seemed to like the darker colors and was never seen in anything but a thong. Hanabi was going for the skimpy look and wore as little as possible while still being somewhat dressed, and she also liked the see-through teddy. It was one of the ways that Hanabi had found that skimpy or flashy clothes really pissed off the elders in her clan. Hinata was more modest but was not one to be outdone, and because of her flexibility she had to be in a thong, anything else just got in the way. Yakumo seemed to like leather and Tenten seemed to like things with a string, which was why she was in a corset. What was Naruto doing in this personal striptease? He was just basking in it, giving a comment here and there. What shocked Ino was that they all let him touch. It wasn't anywhere too personal, just the girl's sides, stomach, and thighs. On top of that, the changing area seemed to be getting hotter, so Ino got out of there quickly. It took Ino a week to get up the nerve to follow Naruto again. Thank Kami they weren't shopping, they were just having some sparring matches. When watching those matches she noted something: they were holding back in class. They never moved that fast in class or gave any indication that they could use elemental chakra. It was a few hours before they stopped sparring, and Ino was glad because she had to get home soon. Ino thought that they all were going to go home, but only Hinata and Hanabi left while Naruto and Sasasha stayed in the clearing. So Sasasha, the usual? Naruto asked. No, let's go a bit further than that, Sasasha said with a smile. Naruto smiled back and said, as you wish. He took out a scroll, and with a puff of smoke there was a mat with a futon on the ground. Ino was wondering what they were doing when Sasasha took off her top, leaving her in a black bra. Ino nearly fell out of the tree that she was in when the bra came off too. Ino looked to Naruto to see that he wasn't embarrassed in the least. When she looked back at Sasasha, she saw that she had taken her shoes off and was pulling down her pants. Ino was now seeing Sasasha basically nude in front of her. Sasasha had a solid B cup with dark pink nipples. Ino looked down Sasasha's body and didn't find a single flaw. Sasasha had a taut, perfectly sized butt and long legs. Every part of her had tone, muscle and fat in all the right places. Naruto unzipped his jacket and took it off along with the chain mail he had on. Ino's mouth fell open at what she saw. Naruto didn't have an ounce of fat on his upper body. He also had defined arms and chest with the beginnings of a six-pack. Sasasha laid face down on the futon with only a black thong on. You are always more open than Hinata or the others are, Naruto commented. They always wear a bathing suit. That's not that surprising, Sasasha said. Hinata already has a C cup at 13 and is a bit embarrassed about it and how fast her body is developing. Only a bit? Naruto asked playfully while starting to give the massage. Okay, very embarrassed about it, which is why she always wears those coats to hide it in public, Sasasha said. Hanabi on the other hand is holding back a little because her sister loves you and she doesn't want to get in the way. Naruto nodded and said, I figured. I mean, Hanabi is at a small C cup and only a little bit behind Hinata. Less talk, more massage, Sasasha said. Ino was in shell shock at the conversation that just took place. He does this with all the girls he hangs out with. Hinata has admitted her crush on Naruto to him. How far have they gone with each other? Ino was brought out of her thoughts when Sasasha moaned as Naruto worked on her inner thigh. Ino watched as Naruto worked Sasasha like an instrument. The noise Sasasha was making would be music to any guy's ears. Naruto stopped and said, I'm done with this side, Sasasha. Sasasha turned over with a smile and Naruto worked from the bottom up. Lemon happened. Well, that was fun. After catching her breath, Sasasha said, well, we could have more fun with our new friend. Naruto asked, are you sure? We don't know her that well. I'm sure it's fine, Sasasha said. She seemed to be enjoying herself. Naruto shrugged, took out a kunai with a thread on it and threw it into the tree. He pulled the string back to himself with Ino coming along. Sasasha looked at Ino and asked teasingly, My, Ino, did you enjoy the show? Ino tried to deny that she was watching, but nothing came out. Naruto came over to her and picked up Ino's hand. Her fingers were covered in a clear liquid. Yes, Ino, I think you did, Naruto said with a smile. Ino looked away from him with a blush on her face and Naruto brought the hand to him and licked off the liquid slowly. Ino's face got redder with every lick. You don't taste bad, Ino, Naruto said. Would you like me to finish where you left off? Ino looked at Naruto in shock at the question and asked, how can you ask someone that? Naruto shrugged and said, the 5 people I've asked all said yes. 5 people? Ino asked, shocked. Yes, Ino, Naruto is good at what he does and always makes sure his partner is satisfied, Sasasha said. But that's not right, Sasasha. Are you okay with him having more than one girlfriend? Ino asked. Saizasha giggled and answered, Naruto only has one girlfriend, the rest of us are just friends with benefits. If he wanted all of us as his girlfriends at the same time, none of us would have a problem with it. Naruto has enough stamina to go a few rounds with all of us at the same time and still be ready for more. There's no way he can do that, Ino said. You would be surprised at what I can do, Ino. I've got a lot of stamina and can recover very quickly. I could demonstrate if you want me to, Naruto said. How? Ino asked. Well, I could call Hinata and Hanabi back here and screw them and Saizasha into the ground, Naruto said. All my girls love how I treat and pamper them. They would come back here without a second thought. How can you say that, Naruto? Ino asked. You're just using them. Ino, that's not the case at all, Saizasha said, he only goes as far as we want him to. You heard him ask me if he could continue earlier, and if I said no he would have stopped. If you need more proof that Naruto isn't using us, look at his pants. Ino looked and blushed at seeing Naruto at full mast in his pants. Saizasha continued, he hasn't asked me to satisfy him even after he satisfied me. If anything, Ino, we're using him to relieve stress and he asks for nothing in return, no matter how much he wants to, and that thing looks painful. But that's not right, Ino said. Ino, would you let me continue if I was a girl? Naruto asked. Ino looked at Naruto in confusion and said, maybe, but you aren't. Naruto put his hands into the ram seal and there was a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, Ino saw a female Naruto in all her glory. She had a B cup and pink nipples on her perky breasts. Naruto smiled at the shocked look on Ino's face. That's just a henge, Ino said. Touch me, Ino, Naruto said, if it is a henge, then it will pop as soon as you do. Ino reached out her hand to what she believed was Naruto's male chest, instead grabbed a handful of Naruto's very female chest. Naruto let out a low moan and Ino nearly jumped out of her skin. That's not possible, Ino stated, eyes wide with shock. Naruto smiled and said, nothing's impossible if you work for it, Ino. This is a jutsu I made because I wanted to know what I would look like as a girl. According to what Hana found out about this jutsu, it suppresses all the male chromosomes in my body and turns me into a real girl. So you're really a girl right now, Ino said, and Naruto nodded. What else does it do? Well, what I've learned by being like this is that it brings out suppressed emotions to the front of my mind and I have less self-control. So when I'm like this I need to get one of the girls to help satisfy me because as you can imagine I have a lot of suppressed lust, Naruto said. Like right now my beep is soaked and the juices are running down my legs. Naruto put her hand on Ino's face which made Ino blush harder. Naruto smiled and kissed her. Ino's eyes opened wide in shock at the femme Naruto kissing her. Naruto licked Ino's lips silently asking her to open up and Ino just went into autopilot. When Naruto pulled back, he looked at Ino, who had a glazed over look on her face from the deep kiss, and asked, Ino, are you bisexual? Ino got a shy look on her face and nodded her head. Well, thank you for your honesty, Naruto said. Most girls, even if they were, wouldn't admit it. May I continue? And keep in mind if you say no I'm just going to play with Saizasha in front of you. A blushing Ino thought for a moment, if she stays like this I won't lose my virginity, and he will satisfy me, hi. Naruto smiled and kissed Ino again while unbuttoning her shirt. Naruto started to suck on Ino's neck as he needed Ino's breasts through her bra. Ino had a solid A cup from what Naruto could feel. Naruto took off Ino's shirt and bra before he began to cut off the bindings around her stomach with a kunai. Naruto rubbed Ino's sides and felt nothing but skin and bone. Ino, you should eat more, you're nothing but skin and bone. What, I don't want to get fat, Ino said. Well Ino, that's the great thing about us kunoichi, Saizasha said. If we train all the fat goes to the right places and you also gain more muscle than fat, as she said that she moved behind Ino and started to rub her sides. Women are supposed to have 11% body fat at minimum to be healthy. I don't want to get too muscular either, Ino said. Do I look muscular, Ino? Saizasha asked. Ino shook her head no and Saizasha continued, if you don't try to get too muscular you won't, you'll just be toned like I am. Ino said that she would think about it, and with that Naruto started to suck Ino's breast and nip it a little. Ino gave a whimpered moan in response. Sasasha lifted Ino's skirt and started to rub her beep through her wrappings and panties. Ino moaned louder and was getting wetter by the moment. It didn't take long before Ino moaned loudly as she came. My, Ino, I think you may have just ruined your panties, Sasasha said as she held up her hand to Ino's face and continued, could you clean this up for me, Ino? Ino, still in her orgasmic high, began to lick and suck her juices off Sasasha's fingers. When Ino came down off her high, she couldn't blush harder at what she was doing. Did you enjoy that, Ino? Naruto asked. Ino nodded, still embarrassed about finding out what she tasted like. Well, Ino, we're just getting started. An hour later they were all laying on the futon Naruto had laid out earlier. It was a little small, but Ino and Sasasha were nearly lying on top of Naruto, so it was fine. Ino's mind was just coming back into focus and Sasasha had a very satisfied look on her face. Well, Ino, I hope that you think about training and come find us if you need some help or just need to get out some stress, Naruto said. Sure, Naruto-kun, but I'm tired, so just lay where you are, Ino said as she snuggled into Naruto's right breast. Naruto giggled and ran his hand through her long hair, the ponytail undone a while ago, and along her back. Well, this is nice and all, but I think we should get dressed before some random ninja runs through the training ground, Sasasha said. She got up and stretched while grabbing her clothes. Ino stretched a little and said, I guess you're right, my dad is probably wondering where I am. Naruto got up from under Ino and gave her a kiss on the head. He put his underwear and pants back on, and with a puff of smoke he was male again, and they all finished getting dressed and headed home. When Ino got home, she saw her father in the living room relaxing after a council meeting. He looked up and hesitated a moment before he asked, what happened to your bindings, honey? He gave a slight nod to her bared stomach to show his meaning, reminding her that they had been cut off by Naruto earlier. I was training with some friends and they got ripped up, so I took them off, Ino said. Who? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Sasasha, Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki, and they pointed something out to me during training. Dad, don't I eat enough? Ino asked. Her father was surprised at this and said, well, if you were to train more, you would need to eat more of a balanced diet to help you recover faster and build muscle. Well, I'm going to train more because Sasasha wore me out today without breaking a sweat, Ino said. Can you help me? He smiles at his daughter taking her training a bit more seriously and said, I'd love to. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends, and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.